All right, today we are jumping into a really powerful ancient allegory from the Padma Purana. It's this incredible story about a world where knowledge has, well, just fallen silent, and the only cure might actually be another story. So let's just dive right in. We don't start with some calm introduction. No, we're thrown right into this desperate, heartbreaking cry for help. This is a mother's plea, and it sets up the central mystery we're about to unravel. Who is she? And what in the world happened to her sons? So that voice we just heard, it belongs to a young woman named Bhakti. But here's the thing. In this story, Bhakti isn't just a person. She is the living, breathing embodiment of devotion itself. And she's in absolute agony, weeping over her two sons who are lying there, basically near death. But her sons, they're not ordinary people either. They are jnana, which is knowledge, and vairagya, which means detachment. And here's the strange part. In our current age, this so-called age of conflict, devotion, or bhakti, she stays young. But her sons, knowledge and detachment, they've grown frail, old, and have fallen into this deep, deep coma. This is the core puzzle of the whole story, right? It's a question that stumps everyone. Until this traveling sage, a guy named Narada, just happens to stumble upon this tragic scene. He sees Bhakti's grief, and he promises her he's going to find a cure. He's going to solve this mystery. Now, Narada is a great and wise sage, so he immediately goes for the most powerful solutions he can think of. He's totally confident that the highest forms of wisdom, the scriptures, can surely wake these two up. And he really does try everything. First, he tries the physical approach, shaking them, shouting, "Wake up," in their ears. Nothing. So then he pulls out the spiritual big guns. He chants from the holy Vedas, and then he recites the entire Bhagavad Gita. I mean, these are some of the most sacred and powerful scriptures that exist. And yet, it does nothing. The two sons, they barely even stir. The text describes them looking like dry wood, just completely wasted away. And after maybe a flicker of consciousness, they fall right back into that deep sleep. This is a huge point, right? Conventional wisdom, even the most revered holy texts, are totally powerless here. Just as Narada is starting to lose all hope, a voice just booms from the sky. It tells him, hey, don't despair, there is a solution. He has to perform a special good deed, a satkarma. But, and here's the catch, the voice doesn't tell him what that good deed is. For that, he has to go find other great saints and ask them. So Narada gets a new quest. He leaves devotion and her sons, and he starts traveling all across the land, going from one holy place to another, asking every wise person he meets the same urgent question. He poses this exact question to the world's greatest thinkers, to mystics, to ascetics. He's expecting, a clear answer, some ritual or a prayer that's gonna fix everything. But the answers he gets are, well, they're shocking. The first group of sages basically tells him it's a lost cause. They're like, nope, it's incurable, knowledge and detachment are just doomed to die in this era. Then another group of wise men were just as baffled. They admitted the good deed was a complete mystery, totally beyond them. It's like the smartest people on the planet have zero wisdom to offer. And this is the wildest part. Many of the sages, when they heard the question, either just fell completely silent, couldn't even speak, or they literally turned around and ran away from him. The problem is so big that it seems like no one on Earth can even stand to think about it. So, feeling desperate and totally confused, Narada travels to the Himalayas to just meditate on this whole mess. And it's there that he has this fateful meeting with 4 eternally youthful sages. They're known as the Kumāras. Narada pours his heart out to these sages, who are described as shining with the light of 1,000,000 suns. And unlike everyone else, the Kumāras are just completely calm. They smile, and they tell him the solution isn't just simple. It's been there the whole time. And here it is, the secret. The good deed isn't some physical act. It's what's called a jnana yajna, a knowledge sacrifice. And what is it? It's the recitation and the hearing of a very particular sacred story, the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. They explain that this isn't just any old story. Its power is incredible. The very sound of it being read aloud is enough to make the evils of our age flee in terror, just like a pack of wolves scattering when they hear a lion's roar. But Narada, he's still skeptical. And he asks this brilliant, very logical question. He says, wait a minute, I already recited the Vedas and the Bhagavad Gita, and they did nothing. This story, the Bhagavatam, you say it's the essence of the Vedas. How can the essence be more powerful than the source it came from? And the Kumāras' answer to this question, it gets right to the heart of this entire allegory. They explain the difference between these kinds of wisdom using a few really simple but powerful metaphors. They tell him, look, wisdom is present all through milk, but you can't get its richest form until you churn it into ghee. Sugar is in the entire sugarcane stalk, but it's most potent when you press it into sweet juice. And then they hit him with the big one. The Vedas are the tree of knowledge, but the Bhagavatam, that's its ripe, sweet fruit. It's the distilled, most accessible, and most potent essence of all that wisdom. So what Narada finally understands is that the solution isn't just more abstract information. It's not more scripture. The real cure is a different form of wisdom, one that's delivered as a compelling narrative, a story that makes these deep truths hit you in the heart and makes them easy to digest. So let's just boil it all down. The takeaway is this. In our busy, distracted, and conflicted age, abstract ideas like knowledge and detachment, they get weak. The old ways of trying to teach wisdom just don't work anymore. The true remedy, according to this text, is the power of story, that distilled fruit that can reawaken our hearts. And only then can devotion finally be reunited with her healthy sons so they can all flourish together. And that leaves us with a final thought, doesn't it? In our own age of endless data and information overload, this ancient story suggests that what we need most isn't more data, but a better story. It really makes you wonder, what's the potent essence we should be looking for today? And what stories do we need to hear to revive what feels lost inside ourselves? Thanks so much for joining this explainer.
Okay, let's unpack this. We're diving into what has to be one of the most fascinating mythical dialogues from ancient scripture. It's a text that's trying to diagnose this huge spiritual crisis, the slow, relentless decline of virtue in the age we're supposedly in now, the Kali Yuga.
Right.
And the whole stage is set with these three divine characters. You've got the goddess Bhakti, who is devotion, and then her two children, Jnana, knowledge, and Vairagya, who is detachment. So our mission today really is to get to the bottom of this bizarre paradox in the story. Why are these foundational spiritual virtues failing in this age? And then to uncover the very secret but surprisingly simple solution that's prescribed to fix it all.
And the scene opens with the great sage Narada. He's trying to comfort a really sorrowful Bhakti.
She's weeping, right?
She is. And he immediately tries to set the context for her power. He reminds her of these, historical victories, like citing the example of Krishna protecting Draupadi.
And he also assures her that she's not just dear to Krishna, but that she is the only force that can summon the divine presence to places that are considered lowly.
Yeah, that's a crucial point.
It is, because Bhakti is established right from the start as being immensely fundamentally powerful, and yet she's the one who is distraught.
What's fascinating here is how the text immediately establishes her unique authority based on time itself, the yugas. It confirms that in the previous, more golden ages, the satya, the trade of knowledge, and detachment were the direct path.
They were the established way to go.
They were the established paths, the proven means to liberation. But then the scripture makes this really sharp turn when it talks about the age we're in now, the Kali Yuga.
Okay.
It declares that pure devotion, Kavala Bhakti, is the only thing that causes direct union with the divine.
The only thing, so it's not just another option on the menu.
Exactly. It's the one path that just, it cuts through all the noise of this era.
So devotion isn't just one option among many. The text is actually arguing it's the fastest, most effective mechanism for spiritual success right now.
Absolutely. Narada really stresses this. He says devotion is superior to all other practices. Hari, or Krishna, is achieved only through bhakti.
And what's the proof he gives?
Well, the definitive proof he cites are the gopis, the milkmaids of Vrindavan. They achieve the highest union without relying on, long penances or mastering the Vedas or even complex yoga. The source is unambiguous. It says devotion supersedes all those other spiritual efforts.
And there's more. If you stick to this path, the text promises some pretty remarkable protection. I mean, there's a description of what sounds like absolute immunity.
Yes, the promise is radical. It says, those who possess prima rupi, which is this really love-filled devotion, in their hearts they're granted protection from the greatest evils.
Like what specifically? Like, they're promised they won't even see Yama, the personification of death, not even in their dreams. And on top of that, no ghost, no fiend, no demon can touch a mind that's filled with devotion. Spiritual armor is total.
That is just immense power.
Yeah.
So if devotion is that powerful, if it grants absolute immunity and it's the main road to liberation,
Right.
it brings us back to the central question.
Right.
Why is the goddess of devotion herself weeping?
Right.
What could possibly be troubling a figure who's so central to the universe?
And that's the powerful paradox that launched the whole story. Because Bhakti isn't weeping for herself. She's weeping over the sad state of her two sons, Jnana, knowledge, and Vairagya, detachment.
And the irony there is just, it's so profound. I mean, she originally nurtured them, right?
Yeah.
And she had liberation mukti as her personal handmaid. But the text says liberation just fled, went back to Vaikuntha, because the world got infected by this spiritual pandemic, a disease of hypocrisy and heresy. And without liberation there to assist her, Jnana and Vairagya just lost all their vigor. They became, and this is the quote, old, slow, and neglected.
So totally useless in this age.
Completely.
Right.
They were the historical means to salvation, but now they're just tired, irrelevant specters of their former selves.
Okay, so this is where Narada, the great celestial yogi, tries to step in. He uses the most powerful tools he has, and he fails spectacularly.
Right. Yeah.
He tries to wake up the sons using the powerful sound of the highest scriptures, the Vedas, the Vedanta, the Gita. He's basically shouting the absolute truth of the universe at them. Knowledge, wake up. Detachment, get up.
And this is where the source uses this strangely relatable, almost humorous imagery. The effort is completely futile.
What happens?
They only rise slightly, they're yawning, their eyes are tired. They're described as looking completely dried out like dry wood or even herons, and they just collapse right back into sleep, wasted and hungry.
Wait, hold on. The great Narada, the most knowledgeable of sages, is shouting the most powerful scriptures in existence, and these two essential virtues just yawned.
That's it.
That one image tells you everything you need to know about the spiritual exhaustion of the age. Even the foundational texts, when you present them in their entirety, are just too vast or too heavy for a fatigued world to absorb. So Narada is he's at a total loss. He realizes the old methods aren't working anymore.
His distress is total. He's actually ready to give up and start some massive penance just to figure out what went wrong. But right as he's about to start, a voice from the sky of Yoma Vaichi interrupts him.
Okay, a divine intervention. And the voice tells him his mission will succeed, but only if he performs a very specific set karma, a holy action or deed.
Right, and it says this deed will be named by the sadhus, the saints, and this action, the voice promises, will instantly remove the children's sleep and old age, and it will cause devotion to spread everywhere.
So that's the ultimate spiritual riddle. What is the secret sad karma? Narada, who, travels the cosmos, knows every corner of the three worlds, but he doesn't know the answer.
He doesn't. He goes searching, asking every single sage he meets.
And the reaction he gets really emphasizes how complex, or maybe how secret, this practice is. Some of the sages just call it impossible, others say it's unknowable.
And many, sensing the mystery, they either fled or were struck mute.
If Narada, the divine knower, can't find the answer, it proves this solution wasn't obvious. It wasn't part of the established, codified knowledge system. It was something totally hidden.
So after exhausting all his options, Narada finally gets to the sacred grove. He's ready to abandon the search and just start intense asceticism.
Yeah.
And that's where he finds the solution. The legendary Kumāras and his brothers.
And these are magnificent figures. They're described as eternally youthful, always appearing as 5-year-old boys, and they're just radiating light. The text even points out why they're perpetually young. They live in Vaikuntha and are totally engrossed in the nectar of Hari Kirtana, which is the ceaseless singing of Krishna's glories.
So they're eternally young because they're always absorbed in this joyous divine narrative.
Exactly. So Narada begs them for the answer, and they provide this profound relief. They say the solution isn't difficult at all. In fact, they say it's easy and instantly achievable.
But they do confirm that it's a path that has always been there, but it was kept secret. They're the ones who finally lift the veil.
So after all that searching, all the drama, all the frustration, what is the Sat Karma? What is the secret deed that instantly restores Bhakti and revives her sons?
The Kumāras reveal that the action required is the Jnana Yaja, the knowledge sacrifice.
And how do they define that?
They define this sacrifice very, very specifically. It is the discussion and recitation, the alapa of the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam.
This is the critical turning point. They claim that the very sound, the chant, the dhvani of the Bhagavatam will instantly strengthen devotion, remove the fatigue of knowledge and detachment.
And in a really dramatic flourish, it will destroy the faults of the current age, like wolves scattering from the roar of a lion.
But that immediately raises the logical question, and Narada, who is basically acting as our stand-in here, he asks it.
He does.
If the powerful foundational sounds of the Vedas and the Gita all failed to wake his sons up, how can the Bhagavatam succeed when it contains the very same teachings?
And this is where we get the most important insight for you, the listener, I think, about the structure of knowledge itself. It's the why that matters so much.
Right.
The Kumāras explain that the Bhagavatam is not just another book. It is the Sara, the essential essence of the Vedas and Upanishads. It is the Phalakiti, the final, distinct, perfected fruit, separated from the vast root and the expansive tree.
That is such a powerful distinction, especially for us today, living in an age of just total information saturation. They use these incredibly relatable analogies.
They do.
I mean, think about it. Milk contains butter, and sugarcane contains sugar. But the raw materials, the Vedas, the milk, the cane, they're vast, they're foundational, but they're also difficult to consume efficiently.
Exactly. The extracted essence, the butter, the sugar, the Bhagavatam, is more beautiful, more palatable, more delicious, and way more potent for direct use, especially in this spiritually depleted age.
It's like they're saying, if you want the sugar, you don't need to spend decades chewing on the entire stalk of cane.
You don't. It's the ultimate spiritual efficiency hack. The Bhagavatam was specifically brought forth to establish Bhakti, Jnana, and Vairagya all together in a concentrated form.
So it succeeds where the huge original texts failed because it's distilled wisdom. It's accessible and directly applicable for the purpose of devotion and awakening.
That's it.
So what does this whole mythical deep dive mean for us? This ancient text is laying out a really clear contextual hierarchy of knowledge and action. It's suggesting that sometimes the most foundational sources are just too dense, too diffuse, or maybe too heavy to provide efficient strength to a tired world.
It implies that efficient living, whether it's spiritual or practical, requires finding the distilled fruit. When we're overwhelmed by information today, by massive databases, historical records, conflicting summaries, we have to find that concentrated essence that truly impacts our understanding and moves us to action.
Instead of just drowning in the raw source material,
Right.
we have to find that extract, that concentrated formula. We need the sugar, not the entire cane field. And that leaves us with a provocative thought to mull over. The text states that the mere sight of the Kumāras instantly destroys misfortune and bestows great good fortune. Given that the Kumāras' only activity is the blissful, eternal chanting and discussion of Krishna's stories, what does this tell us about the relationship between joy, narrative, and ultimate knowledge? If bliss is the true sign of wisdom, maybe the most potent form of knowledge is simply the one that makes you happy.